Now the party starts.
I used to think that I was scared of being with the wrong person, but now I realize that I'm scared of being with the right person.
I've been very lucky to have them as neighbours. Actually, they've become like family to me since your father left for that teenage tour.
She's 35.
Exactly.
So, Shabana ji, it is always such a pleasure to have you on Filmy Shilmi, and a huge congratulations on What's Love got to do with it.
Thank you. Did you manage to see it?
I did, and I was so happy to see you and Shekhar Kapoor collaborating after so many years. I mean, we spoke about it last time we did the interview, actually, and I think what I love is the fact that from a compassionate mother in Masoom, to obviously now What's Love, your camaraderie with Shekhar goes a long way back. So, in light of What's Love, how would you say he's evolved as a filmmaker and you as an actor?
Well, it's not for me to say how I've evolved as an actor. I hope other people will say that about me. But in Shekhar's case, I think it has been more of the same thing because Shekhar, to begin with, is an actor, is a director who loves his actors. He coaxes them, cajoles them, inspires them into giving what he wants. It isn't like he's pushing his will down your throat. So it becomes a collaborative effort between the actor and the director, and that is absolutely the best way of going with it. Shekhar, of course, because he's got this vast body of experience now. When he did Masoom with me, it was his very first film, but he was not lacking in confidence in any way at all, I can tell you that. But now he was very relaxed, given that the circumstances were so excruciating because it was in the dead of the height of COVID, and we had very strict protocol. It was freezing in London, but he kept his calm, and that calm and kept his humor. Kept it light for the actors, and that it was just wonderful.
Sure, absolutely. And I think, you know what, to collaborations, I think you and Shekhar are obviously two of those talents who have really not only made a huge presence in Indian cinema, but also in the West also. I know that you're currently busy with Halo, and I think that's very exciting. And I was really proud to seeing you on the red carpet there. But I think when it comes to the West showing representations of whether it's Indians or Pakistanis in the UK, I feel like What's Love really gets it right. And I mean, as an Indian, I was definitely able to identify with the themes and the representations of emotions. But I wanted to hear it from you. To what extent is What's Love actually a positive step in that direction, and actually being a very pan-South Asian film that appeals to also Western audiences?
It is absolutely pan South Asian, that's for sure. And whether it's Pakistan or whether it's India, I mean, there are so many things that you can recognize as common. And this whole thing of having large families, having a lot of food, lots of people in the family, so different from Emma's family. That is, she just has one daughter who doesn't stay with her, and it's a very lonely kind of life over there. But what it's done in the representation, I think that it's sort of taken the cliches on its head and just turned them around, which is so nice. Because, I mean, it's not a goodness gracious me at
Yeah,
all.
thank God.
Yeah, thank God, because it's really time we looked at, we look at them as wholesome, full uh, people, full-blooded people. And Jemima has looked at them with great compassion and with humor and with love. And so they come across as vibrant people that you and I can identify with.
And I remember last time we did that interview, we spoke at length about your body of work. You know how much of a big fan I have been of your work and the characters you've played. But I think when I think of you, immediately think of films uh like um like of course the Mahesh Bhatt one, which was such an amazing movie. I mean, I still cannot get your characters that you play. They were very earthy. There were women who basically were of that time, but also they defied patriarchy. They defied the sort of social constructs. how has that evolved for you actually over time? And given the fact that we're seeing women now playing a vast range of roles, what is your opinion on that too?
Well, that's an idea that whose time should have come a long time ago. But when I did Earth, which was so many years ago, you know, it was a struggle. It was a struggle with the end because, like I told you even earlier, that the distributors said that it was a wonderful film, but to have a Indian wife saying no to a husband after he's apologizing, it just will not be accepted by the audiences. And it turned out that the audiences, that's what they celebrated. So oftentimes, filmmakers are not in touch with the reality of what their audiences are ready to accept and to view. So it's today to make a feminist statement within Hindi cinema also is not such a struggle at all. More and more it's becoming the norm. And that I think is, in a strange way, I think the women's movement all over the world is also responsible for that because it trickles down to uh, to art and to films. And in films, I think also the young women today who are playing the lead, they want to do something substantial. They just don't want to be an appendage to the hero who wears beautiful costumes and looks good. So that demand is also coming from the actors. We have a whole series of um, actors, female actors who are doing really remarkable work. And I think this is very important because you can no longer, you have to shake patriarchy and shake it off because it's just not fair.
Mhm.
So it cannot be allowed to exist. And it's a wrong notion to think that within the mainstream you still need the patriarchal line of thinking. I've realized that it doesn't work at all. And so it's better to celebrate this more independent woman rather than fix her in the kind of stereotypes that we've seen her for so long in Hindi cinema.
Absolutely. And I think the fact that we're also seeing now parallel cinema, which is obviously neo-realism genre of cinema, which you've been one of the huge faces of in that sense. You've represented that cinema very well over the years. We're now seeing like a sort of style exchange in cinema. I think credits go to perhaps filmmakers like Mr. Sanjalila Bansali, who have really kind of fused that art aspect with the mainstream in contemporary times. But again, how much of a long time coming has this style exchange been? And why do you think it's taken a while for this to actually happen?
Because if for a long time, writers, directors, producers were under the impression that this is not something that the audiences are ready for. And then one by one, films came along. Like, for instance, when I did Art, it was at the same time that I did a film called, what was it called? Ye Nazdikiyan, which
Oh,
was also
yes.
marital infidelity. And in that film, I go back to the husband. We were all convinced that Ye Nazdikiyan would be the greater commercial success. But it didn't happen like that. It was Arth, where the woman
Mm.
refuses to go back to her husband, which was the greater success. So
Yeah.
it made us realize that oftentimes people, audiences are prepared much beyond what you are willing to give them credit for.
Mhm. Sure. And I think when we look at What's Love, I mean, like I mentioned, it's nostalgic because, like I said, for me, it was the childhood me watching Masoom. When I saw you
Oh,
acting in a film that's directed by Shekhar Kapoor. And I think if you see it, Shabana ji, अगर देखा जाए तो nostalgia एक बहुत sellable value हो
बहुत
चुकी है,
बढ़िया,
you know?
100.
And I think again, the fact that all of this is happening, and I think this is going to lead to perhaps a very interesting question because obviously you know how terribly excited I am for Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani because that obviously sees you reuniting with some of India's biggest and incredible artists, Dharmendra and Jaya Bachchan ji. I think with Dharam ji, you've even done a film as well before. Um, how has nostalgia, I guess, seeped into that film as well? And in a way, how do you think that can also present a very different side to your caliber as an actor to what we've seen always?
Well, you know, Karan Johar is a dedicated Hindi film fan. Okay, he just loves Hindi film, and definitely the whole idea of romance between Dharmender and my character is based on little snippets from a Hindi film. So you will feast on what he's got there. I can't reveal too much of it, but yes, it's certainly there. And for me, you know, anything that surprises me is interesting. And so it surprised me. And I said, oh God. And it took some convincing. And he said, no, just believe me, just trust me. And if a director says to me, trust me, I immediately trust the director. And I had a ball. I really enjoyed working in the film.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear. But unfortunately, Shabana, we've run out of time. But it's
Oh,
always such a pleasure to have you on Filmy Shilmi. I always leave our conversations with a smile. So thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations on what's up, and wishing you all the very best for Halo as well.
thank you. And I'll see you in May. I'm coming for the
Yes.
UK festival.
Oh, good. I
Sangam.
can't wait. We'll definitely catch up then for sure.
Okay, Anuj, lots of
All right
love.
then. Bye. Namaste. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.